Tonight, connecting Indigenous peoples with elders and knowledge keepers. More on a new program coming up. Your local news starts now.
This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Thank you for joining us. A bump in money for education isn't going far enough for some Manitoba school divisions. Some say they cannot make ends meet this year, even with the money they're getting from the province. And as CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, the PC government calls this a surprise.
Hanover School Division is cutting teaching positions and programs this year to try to erase a deficit. Seven Oaks and Louis Riel school divisions also say their revenue's not meeting their expenses. This after the province announced $100 million in new funding for school divisions, as well as money to replace property tax cuts. Education Minister Wayne Owasco says he's surprised at the pushback.
I think they have to take a look at their priorities and take a look what they're spending their money on.
Divisions are dealing with the worst inflation in decades and are no longer allowed to raise property taxes. Danielle Funk chairs Hanover's Finance Committee.
I would say it's very disheartening. Hanover School Division is very frugal with their dollars. We have the lowest admin cost in the province.
The divisions and the province say they're trying to work with each other. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
An 11-year-old boy has died in a house fire at Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation. Emergency crews were called to a home in the community around 7 Saturday evening. 4 adults and 3 children escaped. A 65-year-old woman who tried to rescue the 11-year-old was taken to hospital with serious injuries. The boy was taken to hospital but died. This was the scene tonight on Arnold Avenue in the Lord Roberts neighborhood. Emergency crews were called there around 7:30 this evening and found smoke and flames coming from a 1.5-story home. The city says everyone that was inside this house got out safely. No injuries were reported. Advocates for refugees fear a change in Canada-U.S. border policy may end up hurting more people than helping them. Canada and the U.S. amended the Safe Third Country Agreement so migrants who cross the border anywhere can be turned back. This change was intended to discourage migrants from crossing the border away from regular entry points. One Manitoba advocate and a former refugee believes this change, though, will have the opposite effect of its intention.
The most recent change is going to make it even more difficult. So the concern is that people are going to try to cross in even more remote locations. Living in Winnipeg, knowing what the winters are like, it could have catastrophic results, injury, death.
The change took effect at the border over the weekend. The Southern Chiefs organization launched its Traditional Healers program today. It aims to connect Indigenous peoples with elders and knowledge keepers. CBC's Nempande Lande explains.
Pipe song opens the ceremony to launch the Traditional Healers program. Elder Faylene Sutherland was one of the pipe carriers. She's seen thousands of people on their healing journey, including her own family.
For myself, I was asking for guidance and direction that we need to have a good program, that will help and benefit everyone, not only our people, but for other nations to understand that our people need the direction and support in finding our way.
Program lead Justin Courchain says the Traditional Healers program is to help Indigenous people from the 34 nations represented by the Southern Chiefs Organization, or SCO. The main goal is to connect people with their cultural heritage and traditional forms of healing, which treat the spirit, mind, body, and emotions.
The access to healers and access to ceremony, access to a holistic way of healing for our people and our nations is proven to reduce rates of problematic substance abuse, recidivism, violent behaviors, child apprehension, those rates of also of suicide ideation.
If someone needs help, they can reach out to the SCO. It's part of SCO's ongoing efforts to help First Nations reclaim control over their health and wellness. Courchain says traditional healing is connected to ceremony in every possible way, which begins and ends with the pipe, the drum, and the rattle. Courchain says for that reason, it was important to begin and end the announcement of the Traditional Healers program in the same way. Nampande Lande, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, people from across Manitoba will soon be able to get clean needles and naloxone kits out of vending machines. The health branch of MKO is installing 8 of these machines. Now, you have to pre-register to use them, and you access them by scanning the palm of your hand. The hope is the machines will cut down on overdose deaths.
It gives an individual a sense, and a real sense of independence in keeping themselves safe and living safely. That's really the whole purpose of harm reduction.
Dr. Lavallee says he hopes to see more machines installed in Winnipeg, Churchill, and communities in between. The pool at the Cindy Clausen Rec Complex will open just in time for the end of spring break. The city says the Sargent Avenue pool will reopen on Sunday. It was closed for repairs and upgrades worth more than $1 million. Officials say they have recruited and are in the process of training lifeguards before it reopens. And just in time for Easter, a happy ending for an injured bunny. A rabbit who spent 44 days in care has been released back into the wild. The Prairie Wildlife Rehabilitation Center showed us the moment in this video here the rabbit was released. It was found on the side of the road motionless, and after over a month in care, the rabbit is now healthy enough to hop away into the cold. Hopefully that rabbit still has its winter coat because it is a bit chilly out there this evening, -15 in Winnipeg this hour. Meteorologist John Sauder is in next with his forecast. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The trade and upgrade event is on now.
Well, one thing that we can say that we've certainly had a lot of lately is sunshine. Barely a cloud in sight through the weekend and through Monday. That changes a little bit on Tuesday. We'll start to see a little bit more of a mix of sun and cloud, especially on into the afternoon hours, and possibly a flurry. But then we're right back into sunshine on Wednesday, at least here in southern Manitoba, and more cloud across the north, and possibly more snow on the way as we head into Thursday later this week, when things do start to warm up just a little bit. In the meantime, though, we're still looking at early morning temperatures in the -20s around the Winnipeg area, also Brandon, and certainly across the north, and pretty close to that in northwestern Ontario. And then as we move on through the day, similar to Monday, temperatures will struggle to get past about -8 or -9 degrees. Winnipeg at about a -8 to -9 in the afternoon. Highs across the far north more like -16 in Churchill and -10 in the south in the Brandon area. And then as we go forward, right, like I say, we're back into sunshine on Wednesday. Thursday, a -2, some afternoon flurries. Sunny on Friday, cooler again, and then warming up on the weekend with some wet snow by Sunday.
Thank you, John. Before we go tonight, a quick programming note. Tomorrow is federal budget day, and we'll have special coverage for you no matter where you are. Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton will host live coverage beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 p.m. Central on CBC Television and CBC News Network, streaming on CBC Gem and on CBC Radio 1. And, of course, we'll bring you more on CBC Winnipeg News at 6 and here on this show at 11. That's your late news for this Monday. Thank you for being with us tonight. We will see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.